So if you're looking for the session that's about discovering your computer science career, you're in the right place. My name is Brittany Toohey. That is how you pronounce that, in case you were curious. It's kind of a hard last name. And I would just kindly request that everyone keeps their mics muted until maybe the end, when there's questions at the end. Throughout the presentation, I will be asking questions and asking for your responses, but I'd prefer if they're in the chat. Otherwise, everyone would talk at the same time. So please do participate. Just do so in the chat, and we can have save your questions for the end. You can either type them to Jackie or send them to Jackie, or write them down and save them for the end. And I was going to do a little exercise just at the beginning to make sure that everyone's awake and paying attention. I want to invite you to type one word to describe how you're currently feeling. And that way I can test to make sure that I can see everybody's responses here. So type one word in the chat that is how you're currently feeling. Tired, sleepy. Yeah. Oh, great. Interested? Meh, curious. Fantastic. I love that. Okay, good. So I can see the chats that are rolling in. People are awake. Even though you're tired, you're awake. You're here. And thank you for being here and joining with us today. So this session is for people who may have tried writing some code in the past. Maybe you enjoyed it and you're curious about what a career in coding might look like. Or maybe you felt like coding didn't really work out for you, but you're curious still what might be out there. And even if you did try some coding and you didn't like it very much, hopefully I'll provide some insights today to help you see some of the variety and some of the opportunities that are out there, and how learning how to code even a little bit can help you in your career, no matter what you choose to do, even if it's not programming. And when I say like coding or programming or software development, it's really all the same thing. I don't know why there's a billion names for the same thing, but so I'll kind of use those words interchangeably, but like coding, programming, software development, it's all the same. A short introduction about myself is that I was the first person in my family to go to college, but I did have a few great adults who encouraged me to try engineering. And I liked computers. And so when I looked at the engineering programs, I was like, well, there's computer engineering. That one sounds interesting, but I didn't even know what it was. And so I chose a degree in computer engineering, which is a lot of programming, before I had even written a line of code. And so I feel like I stumbled into this career on accident. And that is why I want to shout from the rooftops to anyone who's willing to hear about how amazing of a career it is to be in programming, and how there's so many opportunities, and it's just great. And so now I've been coding for over 12 years. I'm currently a full-time software engineer at the parent company of Anytime Fitness. And my primary job is writing code that helps personal trainers connect virtually to their clients so that they can do personal training in a safe virtual way. So very relevant to this time. And so the focus of my presentation really is just to tell you what I wish that I would have known when I was your age, and that's how great a career in technology is. And when I talk about a career in technology, I really mean that very broadly. When I talk about a career in technology, I really mean anyone who's a creator of technology solutions. If you're using technology to solve problems, then you're a technologist, in my opinion. And in general, I'll mainly be focused on programmers or people who mostly write code, but it's applicable to everyone. And so you'll see this Venn diagram here. I had a mentor once tell me that happiness and success in a career is most likely achieved at the intersection. So this little piece of the Venn diagram where everything overlaps, that's where you find happiness and success in your career as the intersection of opportunity, skill, and passion. And so opportunity is who you're serving, like who is paying you to do the work, right? Skill is what you're doing. How are you contributing? And like, what are you good at? And then passion is the why are you doing it? What motivates you? What do you care about? What do you enjoy doing? And so when you find the intersection of those three things, that's really when you find that you have a good fit for a career, right? And so of course, I'm gonna talk about how a career in technology can meet all those needs for anyone really. All right, but let's go back. And this is my first engagement question. So I would like to type your answers in the chat. When you were a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? And so go ahead and type your responses in the chat. And I won't be offended if you don't say programmer, because I didn't know I wanted to be a programmer until I started taking classes in college. So be an engineer, actor. Oh, inventor is cool. Oh, a lot of things. Doctor, firefighter, police. Oh, marine biologist. My husband wanted to be a marine biologist when he was little. Therapist, artist, architect. Ooh, producer, that's a fun one. Oh, a hacker, that's fun too. Power Ranger, yeah. Love that. When I was a kid, it was a little bit of I wanted to be, I really enjoyed art, but I also wanted to work for NASA. I think that was something that I had for a little while that I wanted to like, not be an astronaut, go to space, but just like work at NASA on the ground. So cool. All right, so that brings us to our first circle in our Venn diagram, which is opportunity. So who needs technologists? So some of you had doctor that written there. And it doesn't matter which industry you pick, pretty much everyone needs developers, needs people who can write code. So for example, you can think of some technology that the medical industry uses. They use computers to input your data and to keep track of your medical information. They also have all sorts of like scanners and medical equipment, you know, like that wouldn't be around without the advances in technology that have happened. And all of that takes code. Nobody said teacher, I think. Maybe they did, I just didn't see it. But even educators, many of you are very familiar right now with how much the education industry is using technology to help students learn remotely, but also to keep track of your grades and assignments and all of that. And I mentioned NASA a little bit ago, but like rockets and space exploration, it's full of technology to do experiments and explore and learn, collect data. Even farmers, which you don't really think is like a high-tech industry maybe, there are tractors that go on autopilot, so you don't even need to sit inside, and that it'll harvest your crops for you. There's also some really neat advancements with like drones and putting sensors in your field to help monitor your field and optimize the crop. So gathering data to make better decisions there. There's producer here, I saw that. But the entertainment industry is kind of what this little person represents. Like musicians, singers, actors, they all use software to edit, advertise, and sell their products, right? And so even the music industry requires technology. And so, and the last one is that who needs technologists? Like everyone, basically. Even the Power Rangers have their big mechs, right? No, just kidding. But special effects and stuff in movies is all technology, and I still just love that one. I was gonna try to like find some of these, marine biologists. They probably use technology for like, again, collecting data and storing their data. That's kind of a big theme. in general, a lot of people use technology. It's like you have all this information, how do you organize it in a way that you can make sense of things, right? And so far in my career, which I said, I graduated college in 2013. So it's been about 7 years that I've been working full-time as a professional. I had some internships too. So counting my internships, I guess I should say, I've written software for the military, for education industry. I've written software for airplane simulators. I spent a summer at Microsoft writing software for them. I've worked at 3M, which they do manufacturing. And then I currently work at a fitness company. And so just by learning how to code, I can work in so many different industries, and that variety is amazing. Like there's not many careers that have that opportunity. And the skills that I have can easily transfer from one industry to the next. So for example, like I have some friends who are programmers, they write code for a living, and unfortunately they were laid off due to COVID. And I assume people probably have, like we know a lot of people that had that unfortunate thing happen. But because they were developers, they have skills that can transfer to other industries. And so, and other industries are still hiring because not everyone was affected in a negative way by COVID, right? And so, like my husband, for example, he actually was one of the people who got laid off at the beginning of COVID due to the COVID stuff. And like I want to say within a month, he had multiple job offers for different industries than he was doing before. But it's because his skills are transferable, and how amazing it was for us that he was able to not only find a job, but to have multiple to choose from. And so next we're going to talk about skills. So here's another engagement question, which I'd like to have you put your answers in the chat. So have you done coding in the past? And which language did you use? I do see that there's a question in the chat too. Jackie, do you know if they will have access to the slides afterwards? I think you said that they will.
Yeah, we can get them access to the slides and the recording.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I love Python. And Java's good too. I learned Java at college. Oh, and JavaScript is good. HTML. Oh yeah, and Scratch too. Yep. Oh, C++. I had an internship in C++. I can do C++, but it's not my favorite. And even if you haven't had experience, that's fine too. HTML and Java. Sounds good. A lot of Python. That's really fun. So my very first internship, I worked a lot with SharePoint. And I don't know, some of you might be familiar with that or not. It's a Microsoft product. And I did a little bit of HTML coding, and it was okay. I was really grateful for that experience. Sometimes it's so hard to just get that first internship to get like that little bit of real world experience. But you know, it was just okay. Like I didn't love HTML coding. But during that summer, I noticed that there was another team at the company who was doing virtual reality stuff. And I was like, man, that looks so cool. And so I set up an appointment with the manager just to talk with him about it. Like what were they doing with virtual reality? Like what were they trying to accomplish or whatever? And I just told him, I was like, I don't know how to do virtual reality, but it looks way fun. and I didn't even know any Python, and that's what they were using to create the virtual reality experience was Python. I was like, I don't know Python, but I want to work on this. And he saw my passion, and he gave me that was my second internship, and it was amazing. I loved it. And so with coding, you know, if you find that maybe it isn't as exciting or fun as, you know, you might like it to be, always explore other areas. There's so many different languages, and they're all different, and they have different applications. And yeah, that VR internship was really fun. And so that was really cool. And so I do have people ask me sometimes when I talk about a career in development, they're like, well, which programming language should I learn, right? But the answer is like, find something that aligns with your strengths and your interests, right? Like, I can do HTML and CSS and JavaScript, but it's maybe not as fun as some other languages. They're doing some other things. And so here are just a few different areas of computer science that you could learn and develop your skills. And like, that's the cool thing, is that I didn't know Python or how to write VR or code for VR, but I was able to learn, right? And that's the cool thing, is there's so much really great documentation out on the internet about how to use different technologies. And like, if you're curious, like tutorials, like there's so many tutorials that can help you create a project that you're interested in. So of course, I've talked about this virtual reality one. That was really fun. There's also mobile app development. Not all apps are games. I currently work with some mobile developers to help with the coach doing the personal training virtually. I don't write the mobile app code, I just support them and write the server side. But anyway, so apps. But if you are interested in doing games, there's also plenty of opportunity there as well. And user experience is like designing how humans interact with technology. Because you could have like the best technology, the best written code, but if people can't use it, then your technology is not going to be helpful for people, you know. And I think we've all experienced apps or websites that just are not very user friendly, you know. So it's very important. There's robotics. If you think about it, a self-driving car is really just a giant robot, and how really cool that is. There's artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is like a really big growing area in computer science. And again, it's where you take all this existing data and you analyze it to make predictions. So if you think about like Netflix recommendations, they have all this data about what people have watched in the past, right? And so they try to make predictions about things that you'll like based on all that data. But there's also cybersecurity. You know, it's like making things secure and protecting from the hackers. There's testing and quality assurance. So even if you feel that you're not very good with technology, or you know that it always breaks or doesn't work for you, you would make an excellent quality person and testing person, right? If you have that special ability to really break software. And then there's other like more specific things like nanotechnology or biotechnology, which is, you know, think like pacemakers or, you know, some of that medical equipment type stuff. So there's so many different areas of skills that you can learn. And I think quarantine has really taught us the importance of technology in keeping us all connected, even when we can't see each other face to face. And it's really been a really big boom in a good way for technology and opportunities to use technology in new ways. And so you can use your current strengths, stuff that you're currently good at, and you can learn a new skill in maybe one of these different areas to create a new piece of technology that the world might need, you know, and I think that's really cool. All right, another question for everyone to type their answers in the chat. So which of these are most important to you for your future career? Is it important that you're famous? Is it important that you have a high salary? Maybe casual clothing, fun work environment is important. Or that you're always learning. Ooh, always learning. Thank you, Mimi. Or having a flexible schedule. Yep, high salary, flexible schedule. A few always learning, I didn't realize that casual clothing was important to me until I worked at a job that was not casual clothing. All of them, yep. The flexible schedule. That looks good. I can wait a little bit longer. A lot of people have the flexible schedule on there. And high salary makes sense too. All right. So, for me, it was important to me. I mean, all of these are important, right? But for me, it was important to have a job where I used my brain. My dad was working at a factory most of the time while I was growing up, and like he hated his job so much. And I just remember hearing him talk about how much he hated going to his factory job. And I wanted to have a career where I could make good money, but also that I wouldn't hate doing it every day. You know, I didn't want to like be grumpy about going to work and hate it as much as my dad did. And so you might not be surprised that all of these perks are for a career in technology, except for being famous. I put a little X up there. I mean, it is possible to be famous in a career in technology or coding. Like there's Notch is the guy who wrote Minecraft. Like a lot of people know his name. You can be famous within your circle of like your programming language or your programming tool. But I think in general, being famous is not normal. So if that's your goal, then maybe this isn't the best career choice. But developers have a high salary because there's not, okay, so there's like this amount of jobs for people who can write code and do technology. And there's only like this many people who can fill those jobs. And so like they want to pay you a lot because they want you to work for them, right? And this is completely normal. This isn't an anomaly. Because even my other friends who are developers have this happen too. Like at least once a week, I have a recruiter reaching out to me saying, hey, I have this job opportunity. Do you want to come work for this company? And so since we are in high demand, like not very many people have our skills, you have recruiters trying to get you to work for other companies. And so it's good to feel wanted, you know? And always learning. I've talked a lot about that with the skills section already, how, you know, even if you're bored with your current industry, you know, you could switch industries with the same skills. Or if you feel like I'm bored working with this certain technology, you can learn a new technology, right? And so the ability to always learn is really great, and plenty of opportunity there. Casual clothing, of course, I think, you know, it's like you can look up how Google, you know, has a really casual, fun work environment, and most companies, you can wear a t-shirt and jeans to work like every day. I know a lot of people wear like the graphic t-shirts with a hoodie, you know, it's like their typical work attire, which is great. And the flexible schedule, you know, that was back when we went in the office. And even before COVID, I would work from home occasionally, just because I wanted to, or because I had, you know, I was waiting for a delivery or something and I needed to be home. And so it was really nice to be able to work remotely, optionally when I wanted to. And then it was super easy when we had to work remotely. I just need my computer and an internet connection, and I can work just fine. There's actually one of my coworkers who they decided to work extra remote for a few weeks. And so they went down to Jamaica for 6 weeks and they're just working from Jamaica. So you can work extra remotely. Also, not all companies have this, but my company has unlimited vacation policy. And that's actually becoming more and more popular, where you don't have just 10 vacation days a week. You can take off as much time as you want to or need to, as long as it's okay with your boss and as long as you get your work done. So that's a flexible schedule, and that's really, really nice. And I think it would be really hard to go to a company that doesn't have that flexibility. Okay, and so these are some of the things that lead to passion. Like, why do you care? right? And I mentioned those 4 things, but also for me personally, one of the reasons that I just really love technology as a career is because I can make things for people. Like as a coder, like you're a builder, you're a maker, you're a creator. Like this thing didn't exist before and now it does because I made it happen. And I really like that creative part of it, like building this thing and getting it to work. But also that I can help people through that, right? The very first program that I made that I was like, this is the career for me is I had a computer game development class in college. And I usually like puzzle games. I'm not a huge gamer, but I do like some to play some. And I was like, well, I don't want to make a puzzle game for myself because I'll know all the answers. That sounds boring. And so I made a game for my nephew, who was 3 at the time. And it was so fun because it was the first time I had written software for somebody else. And that really unlocked something in me that's like, I can bring joy to people, you know, or I can like help them by creating this thing that didn't exist before. And then this last bubble is solving problems together. I know there's I'm trying to think of the word, a stereotype that in programming, you know, you're just kind of sitting at your computer in the basement all by yourself. But in reality, it's not like that at all. The biggest, most interesting software is the ones that you collaborate with people, right? And so you take this really complex problem or this really complex piece of software, and then you break it into little pieces so that I can do my piece, you do your piece, and then let's bring our pieces all together to make one big whole. And so that like problem solving of like, you do that part, I'll do this, and then we'll bring it together is just really cool to have like this group kind of project. And it's very collaborative. And like I said, I feel like we're solving real problems. Like right now with virtual coaching, virtual personal training stuff. Like I'm glad that I can solve problems that matter to me. Okay, and then this is kind of my summary slide. I hope that you have expanded your understanding of all the things that are amazing about a career in technology. And again, like opportunity is meeting a need in the world. Like who do you serve? Which industry sparks your interest? And you don't have to stay in that industry either, because the skills that you have, and the skill is how you contribute. So what have you learned to do? But your skill can transfer between different opportunities too. And then passion is why, like what motivates you, like why is it important to you? What helps you feel fulfilled by the work that you're doing? So that's it, I guess. I saw that there's a question in the chat. And so you can go ahead and type more questions in the chat if you have any more questions, and I'll get to them. And also here's my contact information. If you have any future questions, you can reach out. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so question from Jason Lee. Have you thought about starting your own business? So I have actually, nothing too entrepreneurial, but I started my own LLC, which it's just me, like it's a company that's just me. I don't have any employees or anything, but it's just to support my efforts in like talking about programming like this. For a while, I was going to elementary schools and high schools in the area. So I live on the east side in Woodbury. So I went to like Stillwater, but I went to a couple schools in St. Paul, and just telling people how awesome it is to have a career in programming, just like I did today. Oh, and that's a good question from Christian. The difference between computer engineer and computer science. It depends on the college, but I went to Iowa State University. I grew up in Iowa, actually. So I went to Iowa State. And Iowa State has a really good engineering program. And so at Iowa State specifically, the difference between computer engineering and computer science is kind of small, actually. A lot of the classes overlap. And so you'll have, as a computer engineer, you take a lot of the computer science classes, but you also have to take some electrical engineering classes, which is like building circuits and stuff. Whereas computer science majors, they don't need to take those circuits classes. They don't need to take electrical engineering, but they do at Iowa State specifically, they need to take more like liberal arts kind of classes. Like they had to take like an ethics class. And I can't remember, they had to take a few other classes that we didn't as engineers. But yeah, engineers, I think we also had like more physics and more math than the computer science students did. But that being said, it didn't matter if you were a computer science major, computer engineer, or even a software engineer, you could all apply for the same job and get it, right? It's like, as long as you can prove that you know how to code and that you know how to learn, there wasn't a big difference as far as like getting hired. So just kind of look at the classes. If you're looking at a degree program and you're trying to figure out, you know, should I do computer engineering or computer science? That's what I'd recommend, is look at the list of classes and see which one looks more interesting, because your opportunity should be the same at the end. What programming language would you recommend learning first? Is the next question. It depends on what you're interested in, right? Like one thing that I really like to encourage people to do, if you're interested in learning how to program but don't know where to start, think of a project that you would like to make. Like for example, some of you might have an Alexa at home, you know, the little smart speakers, or even like a Google Home. Like maybe a project that you could think of is like, hey, I want to make like a command for that. I want her, you know, I want to make a custom program for that. And so you find a tutorial that does that. Or maybe you want to do a little project, you're like, I want to make my own website. Then Google how to do that from scratch, right? And if you can look up a tutorial that is towards a project, something that you want to accomplish, I find that to be a lot more motivating, because you're like, you want to make it real, you know? And the tutorial really helps you go step by step. And then you're motivated to finish it. And then the cool thing is, like, once you're done following the tutorial, then you can modify it. You can try to change it. You can make it do different things, and you can make it your own. And so that's what I recommend, is find something that you're interested in doing. Even if it's like, I want to make a little 2D platformer, you know, like look up a tutorial for that. Because what programming language you learn depends a lot on what you're trying to do. What project have you completed that you're most proud of? I can think of a few that I'm not proud of. But let's see, most proud of. I kind of already talked a little bit about that game that I made for my nephew. And it's fun because my son is now 3. And so I really should like dust off that code and try to get it running again, and do that for him. Like, see if he'll play my little game that I made. It's just got like dinosaurs, and you like eat the different colored leaves. So I think that one, I really like that one. But I also really liked that internship that I had with the VR helmet, because we did not only head tracking, but also hand tracking. We had infrared sensors. And so it was cool because the business application was that they had radios. And so they were manufacturing these radios. And you can imagine screws and like circuit boards and stuff have to be put on in a certain order. And so they would do it virtually before they did it physically, and it helped save money. Let me just make sure I have an eye on the time here. Okay, so we still have some time. So what applications or works have you programmed? A lot. So I guess I'll say the programming languages that I learned in college were C, Java, Python, and C++. And I don't even know if they taught us JavaScript at school. I think that was something we just kind of had to figure out and pick up. But I've also learned C# and F#, and others that I'm blanking on. But it's like once you know like one or two languages, it's really easy to learn more because you start to learn like all code is really trying to do the same thing. You're trying to give instructions to the computer, right? And so once you know a few languages, it's really easy to learn some more. You just have to figure out how to use a language to tell the computer what you're trying to do. Some of the coding websites you've used to write code that would be beneficial to try out. There's really just a ton out there. I've used Code Academy before. Code.org is fun. I was going to try to redo my game that I wrote for my nephew, my dinosaurs game. I was going to try to rewrite it in Scratch because it was just a 2D game. But like I said, like coding websites are good for like learning like how an if else works, learning how loops work. But personally, I don't find it super motivating to do the step-by-step stuff. Personally, I enjoy tutorials because they're a little bit more open-ended at the end, you know, and that you really can, like, once you get it working, you know, by following the instructions, then you can make it your own. And it's a little bit more open, like I said. I'm not sure what math skills you have to take for computer science. And it's all kind of silly because like you don't actually, I mean, depending on what you're coding, you don't really use a whole lot of math, honestly. The most complex math that I've used at my current job is like trying to calculate pricing for stuff. You know, it's like money math, if that makes any sense. But it depends on where you want to go to college and what their requirements are for math. So you can look at that. And I know that for Iowa State, because that's where I went, they have like a math placement test that you take before you go to college there. And they have like high school level math classes that you can take at college in case you do feel a little bit behind. But colleges, they have math classes, so that'll work it out. Oh my goodness, I have so many questions. I love this. Okay, and I'll try to answer them all. I think we're going for another 5 minutes, so I'll try to be quick. If you could ever restart and choose a new path in life, would you do anything different or choose a new career? Oh, that's like a deep question. I like it though. I kind of wish that I would have been programming sooner. Because when I got to college, I kind of felt a little bit behind, but the classes in college, those entry-level programming classes, they're designed as though you haven't programmed before. And so even though I hadn't done any coding, I was fine my freshman year. And there was a lot of other kids who also had never programmed before. So I was fine, but because it is so fun, I do kind of wish that I would have been able to been exposed to programming sooner. And then have I done anything on cybersecurity? Not a whole lot. There is like a security team at my company, and we do a lot of collaboration with them. Like if they find a vulnerability or whatever, we need to like make sure that we close it up and tighten up the security around whatever that thing is. And so I work with them, but I'm more interested in the human-computer interaction piece than I am the security stuff. So. Oculus has made some really nice controller tracking without sensors as well as hand tracking. What do you think about them? Oh yeah, so my internship with the hand tracking, that was in 2010. So that was forever ago. That was before 3D TVs were even a thing. So I haven't personally tried out the Oculus stuff, but I love how much VR has come in the last 10 years. It's so great because it is just, when you think, like, one of my passions is, like, you know, people interacting with my technology, right? And making technology that's useful for people. VR is very engaging, right? So it's just really fun. Oh, just curious, did I learn R as well? So I have worked places where teammates knew R. R is really good for statistics, and isn't that funny? Like, why are programming languages like named with a letter? There's like C, and anyway, but R. Yeah, I didn't learn it specifically myself, but I think I have seen R code, but I haven't written any. Python also can be used for like data science stuff. Like R is used for data science and statistics type stuff. So I haven't really done much with R yet. Is it common to work with multiple languages while working one job position? That really just depends. So one thing that I haven't mentioned is that, like, not only can you work in any industry, like medical, manufacturing, whatever, you can also work from small startups to like giant companies, corporations, right? And so, you know, if you're working at like a startup, you might work with multiple languages or whatever. But you know, but bigger companies, you might be more focused on a specific language, specific tool. So it kind of depends. Currently in my job, I mostly do C#, but on occasion, I'll do some JavaScript debugging if there's a problem with the JavaScript code. There's other teams that are close by to me that do PHP, although I don't know any PHP, so that's their job. And so it just depends on your company and the technology that your company is using. For a while, we did an F# project for a little while, so that was fun too. Yes, so coding websites, they help a lot with learning the syntax. And syntax is like, again, it's like, I know what I'm trying to tell the computer to do, but like, how do I do that with the language that I have? That's like the syntax. Like, how do I write the if else statement so that it actually, the computer understands what I'm trying to say? And my favorite, it's 11:50, so this will be my last question, but my favorite programming language currently is one that I'm not using a whole lot, but I've been trying to like work it in, is F#. It's a functional programming language. So there's like object-oriented programming languages like Java. And then I'm not even sure what you call like C, like what kind of language it is, but there's like object-oriented and not object-oriented, but there's another kind of grouping of programming languages called functional. And I'm really interested in learning more about that. And so I created it, one of our new projects at work, I made it an F# project so I could learn more. And my boss was cool with that. So it's fun to work at a place where your managers are supportive of the things that you want to learn. Thank you for coming, everyone. And Jackie, do you want to take
much, Brittany. Yeah, no, thank you. So this was awesome. So many good questions, and I feel like I want to become a coder now. I feel inspired.
Well, good. Then my goal was met today, because thank you for attending, everyone.
Thank you, and have a good day.